so no worries.
Oh, good. Well, not good, but...
Did you already?
Okay, you are good.
Okay. Well, hello everyone. Welcome to the Minnesota Ag in the Classroom virtual field trip. We are in Northfield. Am I
Correct.
Northfield?
Yep.
Northfield. I thought so. I just wanted to double check because the weather we just looked at had a different town name. So we're in Northfield, Minnesota with John Zimmerman, and we're going to take a look at his turkey farm today. I'm going to see if I can pull up this feed so that as you're joining grade level, your teacher name, and I can say hello. It's not quite coming up, but I believe we had a Mrs. Taft second grade class that is watching us now. So we'll give everybody a couple more minutes to join us. And unfortunately, this is not pulling up for me. Oh, they're from Taft Elementary. I'm sorry, it's Miss Miller's class from Humboldt. Hello, thanks for joining us. Well, John, while I work on this, can you tell us a little bit about your farm, how long you've been here, that kind of a thing?
Well, welcome. We've been raising turkeys since the late 1950s when my dad started. The farm actually has been here since the 1880s, but started to raise turkeys. And this is the first barn he built in 1958, and since then we've expanded to 6 barns, and we raise about 4 soybeans.
Okay. And you know, this is Thanksgiving week. Hopefully many of you are looking forward to Thanksgiving turkey with your families. We like to do our virtual field trip. Ooh, it's bright today. Turkey farm this time of year because Minnesota is the #1 state in producing turkeys. So we're going to meet one turkey farmer today, see your barns. We'll give it just another minute or two and see if anyone else joins us. I can see that there are 22 viewers right now, but I can't see any comments to see who is watching. So I'll try to add those shout outs or saying hello to you guys a little bit later when I guess my phone live shot. So we're outside right now. Paige, our student worker, is behind the camera. We're grateful to have her today. Paige, do you want to give us a quick view of the farm around here so we can see that?
Yes.
The red barn here.
That is the intermediate barn. When they get a little bit older, we'll be moving them into that barn, and it's currently empty.
Okay.
The barn we'll be going into is a brooder barn. That's where we keep the birds when they're just a day old till they're about 4 weeks of age.
Awesome. All right, well, it's a little chilly out here, so why don't we go ahead on inside. We're going to stop in this first area, and John's going to share with you some measures that we take before we go into the barn. If we lose signal, we will come back. So just check our feed again if we happen to lose signal in here, but we're hoping we're going to keep that signal going the whole time. So, John, we'll follow you inside.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Sue Knott, and like Carrie, who you just met, I'm an education specialist with Minnesota Agriculture in the Classroom. And you can see I'm wearing something I usually do not wear, believe it or not, coveralls and plastic boots. And these are meant to protect the turkeys. So I don't bring any germs from outside or that I have from my children with colds or something like that that might make the turkey sick. So I know John's getting his coveralls and boots on, and he does this every day, so these are a little bit nicer than mine. But yeah, and then we are going to go meet a bunch of turkeys. So John's changing his boots. I don't work on this turkey farm, so I got to put some plastic ones on. But we are going to meet a bunch of turkeys in this barn that you just heard about, and the temperature in there is pretty warm. So I was wearing my winter coat, hat, and gloves outside. It's about 10 degrees, but inside it's about 80 degrees. So it's a little bit warmer for those turkeys inside there. So if you have any questions, I want to remind you, put them in the comments section, and we'll either be able to ask them to John in person on our live stream, or we'll have someone type in the comments the answer to your question on the Facebook Live comments. So we already have some questions.
You have some people to say hello to.
Oh, I'm going to say hello to some
all
people.
those people.
So we have St. Dominic's School in Northfield. Thanks for joining us. Mrs. Nelson's 3rd grade class in Audubon, Minnesota. Welcome. We have Courtney watching from New York. Welcome, Courtney. A 1st grade class, Mrs. Bridgman from Ogilvy Public Schools. 3rd grade from Franklin Elementary in Evelyn. Welcome. 1st and 2nd grade from Grand Rapids. Hello. Good morning to you. We have the Frazee Burgess 2nd graders. Thanks for joining us. Pals Incorporated in Wilmer. We're so glad you can be with us too. Martin County West 4th grade from Trimont. Hello. East Union Elementary, Mrs. Johnson's 2nd and 3rd graders. We are happy to have you with us. St. Dominic's School, 6th grade in Northfield. 6th grade in Morgan, Cedar Mountain, Morgan. Thank you for joining us. East Union, Mrs. Kolessars. I'm sorry if that's not how you say your name. Mrs. Ambrose's class, hello. So happy you guys wanted to learn about turkeys with us too. All right, John, are we ready?
We are ready.
Okay, so we are going to enter the barn. Follow us. We're clearing the way. You can see there are lots and lots of turkeys. Details can you give us?
Well, this is a brooder barn. So we get turkeys from the hatchery when they're less than 1 day old. And they're
Okay. Oh, we're back.
Welcome back, everyone. We lost connection when we entered the barn, which sometimes happens, but we're still glad that you're with us. Like hopefully you can notice, we're inside the barn. It's a balmy 80 degrees, and John's going to give us some details about this barn.
So this is a brood barn. This is the barn where we get the birds when they're a day of age right from the hatchery. And we have to keep this barn very warm because the baby turkeys cannot necessarily regulate their body temperature. So when they first get in here, this barn is probably close to 90 to 95 degrees, and then we slowly lower the temperature as the birds get older. The birds in here now are about 4 weeks old, and they will be moved to a larger barn in the near future. So this is kind of the nursery barn, and then we'll move them to their teenager barn in a couple of days here. But in this barn right now, there's about 18,000 female hen turkeys.
So 18,000, and how big is this barn?
This barn is 200 feet long by 70 feet wide.
So I should have asked you this ahead of time. Is that about the size of a football field, half of it?
That's roughly the size of maybe half of a football field.
Okay, so 18,000 birds, half of a football field.
Correct.
And these are 4 weeks old, and they've lived here since they were 1 day old.
Yes.
And they're all girls.
Yes.
So no boys. This is the all girls building.
Yes.
So there's a few features that we can notice. I see water. This looks like water and feed. Do you want to tell us about what your turkeys get to stay healthy?
Yes. So early on, we actually have additional waters and feeders, but after a few days, we take those out, and they are just use these feed lines and water lines, and these are all automatically controlled, so the turkeys always have access to feed and water. And those are the feed lines. They're supplied with feed 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and as long as they keep eating feed, we keep supplying feed. We don't limit that at all. These are the watering systems here, and they peck at those little yellow pendulums, and the fresh water is delivered, and they can drink water anytime they want. We keep that water very clean. We do chlorinate the water to make sure there's no bacteria or anything in the water also. And you can see there's several different water lines and feed lines, so they're never very far from getting a drink or having a bite to eat.
All right, we have our first question. Carrie, what is it?
Okay, we had several schools asking how many turkeys, but you answered that question. So another question from Finn is, why are the turkeys, oh no, wrong person. Anywho, Miss Johnson is asking, why are the turkeys white?
The turkeys are white because we've bred them to be white. Many, many years ago, the consumer, the people who actually buy our turkeys, were tired of seeing the black feathers on the bird. They were hard to pull out, and they were leaving little black marks. So over time, we've bred them to have white feathers because the meat then looks better for the consumer. So it's what we've bred for the consumer over the years. You can still buy turkeys with dark feathers. They're called bronze or different breeds, but commercially turkeys are now always white.
And is it a particular breed that's always white, or is it a combination?
It's breeding, but in the turkey industry, it's also maybe more of a strain, I would say. It's just what the industry has developed over the years.
Okay.
They've selected for white feathers.
Excellent. More questions, Carrie?
Yes. Okay. Miss Halverson's class would like to know how the turkeys sleep.
The turkeys sleep by shutting their eyes and going to bed.
And do they sleep on the floor?
Yes, they sleep on the floor. The lights in these barns go on and off during the day and night, so they have periods of darkness when they can sleep. And they will, if you look around, you can see birds that are sitting down. They usually just put their head on their wing or whatever and go to sleep. But there's periods of time where the barn is dark and that's when they take their naps. But they do sleep in the floor on the wood shavings.
And you mentioned the feeders, which are these red things. What do they eat? What do you put inside of those for the turkeys to eat?
The feed is primarily corn and soybeans, but there's also a vitamin mixture in there and some other ingredients depending on what we have and what the birds need at that stage of life. The feed they are fed 8 to 10 different types of feed, and it's precisely matched to what they need at that point in time. So they get all the vitamins, nutrients, minerals, protein that they need to grow.
So these turkeys you mentioned were about 4 weeks old. The ones like the turkey that we would buy in our grocery store, how old would that be? Are these guys getting close?
The bird you would buy in the grocery store that weighs 10 to 12 pounds is a 12 to 14 week old hen. So these birds will have another roughly 8 weeks before they go to market, and at that time they'll weigh about 14 pounds live, and when you dress out the bird and get the meat out of it, it'll be that 12 to 13 pound whole bird you buy at Thanksgiving.
Perfect. And are most of these sold as whole birds, or do some of them go for like turkey for a sandwich or some other product?
Usually females or hens that are raised to this size are for whole birds, so 14 weeks. Now in the wintertime, after Thanksgiving, we have another farm where we raise heavy hens, and we'll raise those to 22 pounds. And that takes about 17 weeks. And those birds will be cut up into your turkey sausage, turkey bacon, turkey ham, all the other turkey products you can enjoy.
So you guys raise turkeys for all sorts of different purposes?
Yes, it's whatever the consumer wants, really. And so like during Thanksgiving, we raise more whole birds, but other times of the year we may raise heavier birds. And some people who raise the male turkeys, they raise them to 45 pounds and 20 plus weeks old, and those birds are the ones that you'll get your breast meat at your deli, your Subway sandwiches, things like that.
Okay, a 50-pound turkey, so that's probably the size of a first or second grader, which is it's pretty big. So Carrie, more questions.
Well, we are blowing up with questions about the male turkeys. Where are the male turkeys? Why are they all female? Why aren't they raised together?
Okay. We raise all hens, other farms raise all toms. So at the hatchery, the birds are separated between males and females because they grow at such different rates. Now at this age, a male and a female will be about the same size, but about 7-8 weeks of age, the males grow much faster. That's why they can raise them to be that 40-45 pounds. The hens grow at a much slower rate. So we have to keep them separate because they'd be such different sizes. And then also, sometimes there's some aggression involved.
And the end of that question.
Oh, you're back. So we were talking about why Tom, the boy turkeys, and the hens are not mixed together. And you mentioned a few different reasons, but we were talking about they sometimes don't get along.
Yeah, hens and toms are very different sizes, and sometimes the toms, the male turkeys, can be a little bit more aggressive, and so you don't want to mix the multiple size birds because the smaller birds, the hens, may get picked on more. So it's better to keep them separate, and that way they're all more safe and don't get harmed.
Perfect. So I want to, if you could get a shot of the floor, I want the people, viewers, to see what's going on here, and John, if you want to describe what you put on the bottom of the turkey barn and why.
This is wood shavings. A lot of times this is a byproduct of the companies that make wood and windows or other things like that. Sometimes it's ground up pallets. When you go to Menards or Home Depot, they a lot of times have extra wood laying around. Sometimes they'll grind that up. But it's basically wood shavings, and it's a very dry material that we put in here for bedding. It soaks up any moisture, and it's also a nice soft thing that the birds can lay on and sleep on and walk on. We till this up every once in a while with a garden tiller to keep it nice and dry, and as you can see, it's pretty fluffy. So this is what they have.
And then this is like, I mean, they would go to the bathroom in this, right?
Yes,
well?
we're standing on turkey poop, yes.
We're standing on turkey poop. Did you guys hear that? So do you have to take it out and put new stuff in every so often to keep it clean? Or how does that process work?
Yes, in this brood barn, so we'll move these birds out of this barn in another couple days. We'll come in here, we'll take out all this wood shavings and everything in here with a skid loader, clean the barn, sanitize the barn, put in brand new fresh shavings, and the barn will be very clean to start the next group of birds on. So
Okay.
It'll be cleaned out every flock.
Excellent. Questions, Carrie?
Yes. Okay, so TJ has been waiting a long time for me to ask his question. He would like to know why they're raised in barns, and a couple other people have asked about going outside, which I think will also go along with Mrs. Schmidt's class's question about how do you keep your birds healthy.
Okay.
So talk about the barn, how you keep them healthy.
Well, first off, these birds, like we said, it's 80 degrees in here. It's 6 degrees outside. Turkeys cannot handle those cold temperatures, so they need to be raised inside when they're little. We used to raise birds outside. As they got bigger during the summertime, we would let them outside, and it was called range. Some people still do that, and on certain instances and in certain types of soil where you have good grass and pasture, people still do raise turkeys outside. The problem, or not the problem, but the challenge with raising turkeys outside is predators can come in and eat those turkeys. Coyotes, wolves, dogs, hawks, owls, all sorts of things will come in and kill your turkeys. So you have to, take that into account. So they're much safer inside. And then also, wild birds sometimes spread diseases. So if you do raise turkeys outside, you always have to be very wary that you're not bringing some sort of disease in. So we've moved most turkey production inside to protect the birds from bad weather and also to protect them from diseases.
And so the birds in here, what do you do to make sure they don't get sick? Because there's so many of them. It's sort of like a classroom. If someone gets a cold, pretty soon everybody has a cold.
Yes, and that's always an issue. Now, with these turkeys, I mentioned before, the water is cleaned and sanitized. So a lot of times if you have dirty water, that's an easy way to transmit disease. We make sure that water is kept very, very clean. Good air. We have air is constantly being taken out of the barn, and fresh air is constantly being brought in and heated. So we're constantly exchanging the air and keeping that clean. Good ventilation and good air, and then just keeping the litter dry, keeping everything dry is another good way of doing it. And then also we watch the birds, and if we see a problem, we address it right away. A lot of times we can use antibiotics if they get sick, but we prefer to do something before they get sick. So sometimes we will give birds aspirin. There's a product like kaopectate if they have some digestive issues. So a lot of things that humans use, we have a similar product in the turkeys that we can use to hopefully make them feel better without having to resort to using antibiotics.
So what do you watch them for health reasons. What else do you notice about turkeys? Maybe you can tell us the specifics about how they act. I see a lot of them kind of clumping up together. Do they have like friends that they hang out with, or what's the behavior like in turkey barns?
Well, birds like to flock together. So right now they're kind of scared of us. They're not used to having 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people in white coveralls in here, so they're kind of a little bit scared of us right now, so they're backing away. But a lot of times they'll be very curious, and if we stayed in here long enough, they'd start to come up and peck at our feet and want to, I'll say, play, hang out with us.
Yeah.
But they are very much a flocking animal, so they like to hang out together. So a lot of times even though they have a big barn to hang out in, they'll all go into one small area because they like the birds of a feather flock together. They like to be close together and in groups.
Okay,
so.
Awesome. Questions, Carrie?
All right, John, you might be the one getting the most questions ever. This is great. We have lots of questions for you. So I'm going to stay here and ask 4 or 5. All right, Miss Riviere's class would like to know, are these turkeys organic?
These turkeys are not organic. Some people do raise organic turkeys. We do not. We raise conventional birds, and we also raise antibiotic-free birds, which are birds that are never given antibiotics. We can do that because most of the time we don't have to give antibiotics. And if we never give the birds antibiotics, we can sell them as raised without antibiotics. But if they get sick, it's my responsibility to take care of those birds. And if the best option, after consulting with a veterinarian, is to give them an antibiotic, I will, to make them better. That antibiotic is given to them for a short period of time, and then it is excreted from their system, and after that they're tested to make sure there's no residue, and the meat you get never has antibiotics in it, whether they're raised without antibiotics or not.
Okay.
So organic is a whole nother step. That involves separate feed and a lot more rules, and some people do it, but it's a very difficult process that takes many years to get into. So we have not made that leap yet. Some of my friends have. They've done it for a while, and they've actually gotten out of it because it just didn't work out for them, but it can be done.
Okay. Along that line, Miss...
Let's see. I looked at a spot.
Okay, we're back. Okay, sorry that we lost service for that moment. Ms. Halverson's class would like to know how long it takes you to clean the barn.
To clean this barn, we will move the birds out, like say by 9 a.m. in the morning. By that night, we'll have all the rest of the feed out and most of the shavings out. So maybe 2 to 3 days, maybe 4 if we have to clean it, extra good. But within 4 or 5 days, up to maybe a week, we'll have another flock of birds back in here. So we continue to get birds in here fairly often. They don't sit empty very long.
Ms. Hedlund's class would like to know how you got into turkey farming.
My dad started raising turkeys in the 1950s, and of course I was born and raised on the farm. I went to college as an animal science major. I was looking to be a veterinarian.
Okay.
But then my father died, and so I came home and took over the farm in the late 1990s, and it's somewhat of a family tradition, I guess.
So I know you have a son. Grant is 4. Do you think he's going to be the next generation to take over this farm? It might be too early to tell.
Yeah,
but
he loves coming into the barns, and he helps out when he can. But that's a choice he'll have to make when that time comes. It can be a good life, but it's also a lot of hard work.
Right.
Ms. Halverson's class is also asking how many different store brands will these turkeys be sold under, or what brand?
How would you find them in
Yes.
the store?
Okay. There's all sorts of different brands out there. Jenny-O is a big one in Minnesota, but our turkeys are processed in Marshall, Minnesota at Turkey Valley Farms. And they are, a lot of times when you go to a store and get the store brand, whether it's Hy-Vee or Cub or whatever, Essential Everyday, a lot of the store brands are what we bag for. Other than that, some of our niche market birds, when I say they're raised without antibiotics, go to Ferndale Market, which is over in Cannon Falls. So you can find them at Ferndale Market or Turkey Valley Farms, and a lot of times, like I say, the store brands, Essential Everyday, things like that.
Okay. So with Thanksgiving just being 2 days away, is this a really busy time for you, or is it kind of just the same as the rest of the year?
It gets a little bit busier because during Thanksgiving, the rest of the time of the year when we process birds, they're frozen.
Okay.
During Thanksgiving, they're fresh because we're selling them as fresh birds. And the schedules get a little tighter and things get a little bit more hectic. And we actually just sold our flocks for Thanksgiving last week. So right now it's actually kind of simmered down, yeah. Because these birds won't be ready until December. So up to Thanksgiving it gets pretty hectic. Then after that it kind of slows down until springtime again.
Awesome. Well, we have a few more minutes, so if you have some questions, please type them in. We're not going to have time, I don't think, to ask John all of them, but we'll work to answer them within the comments of Facebook. So Carrie, do we have one or two last questions?
We do. The fourth graders at WEM are asking, where's the hatchery that you get your birds from?
There's hatcheries all over the United States. We primarily get our birds out of a hatchery in Wilmer, Minnesota. But there are other hatcheries you can get birds from, but I specifically usually get our birds out of Wilmer, Minnesota.
Got a couple birds over here that are warming up to us, I think, coming to check us out. Okay, continuing on, we'll have 2 or 3 more questions. Ms. Johnson's class is asking how many times a day do they eat, or how many times you have to feed them?
They're offered feed free choice, so we don't actually feed them. They have access to feed 24/7. So whenever they're hungry, they eat. Whenever they're thirsty, they drink, and whenever they need to go to the bathroom, they go to the bathroom. They pretty much have free range within the barn.
Okay, and we'll end on this question from Ms. Riviera's class. Do you know how fast turkeys run?
Ooh.
They can run pretty fast because there's times where we need to catch turkeys to see how much they weigh or whatever, and they can outrun me. So if they want to run fast, they can run pretty fast. As far as miles per hour, I don't know, but
okay.
they can be pretty quick.
You wouldn't want to be in a race with one?
I personally wouldn't want to, no.
I don't think I would either. Well, thank you guys all for joining us. Thank you for asking all of the awesome questions. Thank you, John Zimmerman, for letting us come to your farm and sharing all of your knowledge. We did partner with the Minnesota Turkey Growers Association and connecting with John, so they have an awesome website. Check out minnesotaturkey.com if you have questions about how turkeys are raised in Minnesota. And also our Minnesota Ag in the Classroom website. We have some great resources to use in classrooms for teachers K through 12. So check us out too at mn.agclassroom.org. So happy Thanksgiving. Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you.